Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to Freedive Passion. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about breath hold training for deep freedivers. Now, pretty much by definition, if you're a deep freediver, then probably hypoxia is going to start to be an issue. So you no longer need to just think about CO2 tolerance, but hypoxic tolerance, meaning low levels of oxygen. And it makes sense to train that in the way that you're able to accumulate the most volume in the beginning and then get more and more specific the closer you get towards your peaking moment, right? This is just one of the basics of periodization. So to get volume in, it makes sense to start with dry training, because dry training we can do very easily when it comes to logistics. Without going too specifics and just sticking pretty much with principles, you would want to start to slowly build up your breath hold training until you're able to do a normal static until hypoxia or symptoms of hypoxia, right? So you could do these statics wearing a pulse oximeter, and that helps you to gauge more or less where you're at. But also, if you're at this point where you're a deep diver, it's good to start to build sensitivity and awareness to what it is when you feel hypoxia, right? At first, it can be hard to get there. You need to build up your CO2 tolerance first, right? Which is something that we can't skip over, right? The only way to skip over CO2 tolerance in order to reach hypoxia is with hyperventilation, which is fine. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, for static, but nobody wants to breathe the way that they breathe for static before they do a deep dive, right? So by definition, if we don't hyperventilate for a deep dive, then we shouldn't hyperventilate for a static when we're training for that longer breath hold that we'll experience on a deep dive. So you have to go through your process of building up your CO2 tolerance until you're able to hold the breath until you reach hypoxia. A shortcut is to do breath holds while you're moving, and an even shorter cut will be to do RV statics, so breath holds with no air in the lungs. I've spoke about this years and years ago on the channel. A really good example comes from Herbert Niche. Herbert Niche is the best freediver who ever existed until now. I'm sure a lot of the people listening to this have never heard of him because they got into freediving more recently. But he had records in all of the disciplines. I'm pretty sure at one moment he held every record, both cool and depth, in the male category. So he's an incredible freediver, and he's one of the last freedivers that also held down a full-time job. He was an airline pilot. So he was able to compete and have world records at the highest possible level while still having a full-time job. One of his secrets was, before he would go to do his competitions or his training periods, he would do a lot of RV statics. So he would put on a movie and he would do an empty lung breath hold. However long that empty lung breath hold was, he would breathe for that amount of time and then go straight back into another empty lung breath hold. And I think he was, in the end, able to hold his breath on RV longer than 4 minutes. So this is an extreme example of how strong hypoxic training can leave you in a really good place when it comes to your deep diving. Now, at some point, you need to transfer this into actual breath holds underwater at depth, right? And this is again continuing with specificity, so becoming more and more specific the closer you get to your target. As you're starting to build depth, then you can also be incorporating long dives or slow dives. I don't really do much hangs at the bottom. I like to actually hang at the surface. So you can either have your buddy time you. So you do a countdown, the buddy will see you when you take your last breath, and then you'll do a short static on the surface and then go into your dive. And you can start to progressively overload this by either leaving the static the same and increasing depth, or leaving the depth the same and increasing the static, or a combination of the two. Another really nice training that I did specifically, probably the best I ever felt when it comes to deep diving on my breath hold, was as part of my base training. I built myself up to do a 4 minute dive. It was like a total of 4 minutes slow dive to 40 meters. And then once I was able to do that consistently, as I started to increase depth by either like 10 or 5 meter jumps as I was getting closer and closer to my PB, I was maintaining that 4 minute dive time. So in the end, I'm pretty sure I did a 4 minute dive to 80 meters when my target was, 90 plus meter diving to get my PB for that season. Um, and that left me like super confident and strong and very familiar with the feelings that I needed, the feelings of edge to breathe and hypoxia, even like at depth when I know I still have like more time to go, which was historically like one of my like bigger weaknesses in free diving. So yeah, I don't want to let the video go like too long, but this is just some concepts and some ideas that you can use if you're a deep diver, or if you're striving to be a deep diver and you want to know like, or have some ideas for like how to train and prepare yourself for that. For everybody that comes here for coaching, we do lectures on periodization, so you can understand like the principles of training and how to personalize your own training for yourself. For people that come here for long enough, then I take care of their periodization and I put a training plan in place. If something's holding you back, not relating to breath hold, if it's like skill, stress, equalization, whatever, then you still need more work as a free diver, and that's also something that we specialize on here in La Ventana. So if you want to take your free diving to the next level, just come see me down here in La Ventana, Baja. And until next time, guys and girls, take it easy and dive safe.